Welcome into the trade deadline special on 107.4 The Tex. I'm your host, Jenk Jenkins. Houston grabbed a second-round pick from Buffalo by shipping out Donnie Banogu. But that was a footnote compared to some of the headlines around the league. To get all the details, I'm joined by Wolfie Wolfson from the RBTV studios. Wolfie, so glad to have you aboard, and you look great as always.
Thanks, Jenk, and your comments are inappropriate, as always.
Some things never change, but the league sure has after the midseason swaps. Lead us off with the most lackluster deals before getting to the good stuff, Wolfie.
Well, Jenk, a quarterback on the move will always make headlines, and Chicago traded Mitch Trubisky to Pittsburgh for a second-round pick. The black and yellow have been scrambling to find a replacement for their longtime star QB, Ben Bradshaw. And Mason Blitzen did not impress in the early part of the year.
Did they really expect much from him?
I can't imagine they did, and I've heard from my sources that their GM has been shopping the QB market since the preseason. The AFC North is one of the most competitive divisions, and Pittsburgh's steel wool defense had kept them in the hunt, but the brass knew they needed the offense to keep pace if they want a shot in the playoffs.
So why Trubisky? Chicago is 2-6, and his numbers don't pop off the page.
The market for QBs at the deadline is usually limited, but Chicago is obviously building for the future, and the former MVP doesn't qualify as young talent anymore. Pittsburgh wants to win now, and Trubisky was the best-known commodity available. They're hoping that vet weapons like Leviosa Bettis, Heath Barr, Heinz Swan, and Plexiglass can bring the best out of Mitch.
There was one other QB on the move at the deadline, and I look at this as another team hoping to squeeze some life out of a guy that the league had mostly counted out.
Atlanta's GM wouldn't spin it that way to the fan base, as they acquired Tennessee's backup quarterback Munchin Mariota for wide receiver Calvin Parley and a 1-for-1 deal. Parley had been serving a 7-game suspension for betting online during halftime of a late-season game last year. And after losing quarterback Ice Chandler to a nasty weenus injury, Atlanta needed a new signal caller. The move is a band-aid for Atlanta, but if Munchin excels, Ice Chandler's days in Georgia could be numbered.
Ice has been a rock in Atlanta. It'd be strange to see him in another uniform. What about the other side of this deal, Wolfie?
For Tennessee, acquiring Parley is a gamble, pun intended. Their offense is anchored by Hank the Tank Derrick, who's on a historic tear as they've streaked to a 6-2 start. Tennessee's coaching staff hopes that Parley is the weapon that quarterback Warren Air needs to balance things out. But his mentality is the big question mark.
And finally, take us through the deadline blockbuster, Wolfie. It has big implications in the AFC South.
This was a big surprise to most front offices around the league, as Jacksonville swiped Wodell Techum I from New York with only a third-round pick. New York had been publicly shopping WTF since the end of last season, but couldn't get a team to bite at their asking price, since his deal expires at the end of the year. Jacksonville was a surprise suitor as they sat at 1-5 and seemed primed to earn a top pick in the draft again.
Yeah, Tanksonville isn't known for having a great culture either. WTF can definitely ruffle some feathers.
Well, he can also catch some bombs, Jenk. And that's exactly what he did in his first 2 games in a new uniform.
The fourth quarter begins with Jacksonville marching into Tampa territory. It'll be a pass, and a deep one as WTF goes up and owns the corner as he waltzes into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacksonville!
Now, Fish, this is what you call a debut. It was like they were begging Bortles to throw it his way.
That duo has made it look easy over the last 2 games.
Jacksonville made the bold move of benching their vet QB Byron Garrard in favor of backup Boat Bortles, and the former first-round pick hit the ground running. Just 2 games into their new partnership, and it looks like WTF won't take long to surpass tight end Lexus Lewis as the team's leading receiver.
2 games, 2 wins, and the AFC South Division has added another hurdle to Houston's already fading playoff hopes. Wolfie, I always appreciate getting down to business with you.
Jenk, thanks for having me on the show. And don't think I won't press charges.
There she goes, Wolfie Wolfson from RBTV. Be sure to tune in to see her and the rest of the RBTV gang when Houston takes on New England in prime time. Thanks for joining our trade deadline special. I'm Jenk Jenkins, and you've been listening to 107.4 The Tex.
The preceding has been a presentation of Retro Sport Radio. This broadcast is copyrighted for the public use of our audience. Please like and subscribe.